As a pastor, I know the daunting task of continually clarifying and communicating vision, a compelling vision. It's like this constant challenge that's in front of you in between all of the crisis that you're trying to face, all the tasks, all the staffing, all the budgeting, all the preaching, all the care of people. You're also supposed to be a master communicator of vision. It's not easy, right? It's one of the most difficult things to constantly keep hot and fresh is the vision that God has for our ministries and our churches. And something that I want to encourage you about is that it is not as complicated as it might seem. I was reading Ezekiel chapter 37 this week, the passage about the dry bones and how God can bring them back to life. And it just dawned on me that vision is a lot like football. Let's simplify this a little bit. You know, when you're out there on the field and you're running for a pass, you're not running to where the ball has been, you're running to where it's gonna be. And what we know about vision, it is not something that's created. It's something that's discovered. It's discerned. It's something that's divine. God already has a vision for your life and ministry. Your job, your only job with vision is to discover what is this and how do I adequately describe this? When I was younger, I had this moment. It was like my only great sports moment of my entire life. I'm not a super sporty guy, but other than a couple of really cool skateboard moves, I once played a game of football with my friends and something crazy happened. I was running to catch the ball. I looked behind me for just a second. I got in position of where I thought it was going to land. I kept running in that same direction. I put my arms out, and out of nowhere, the ball just landed right in my arms. As I was running and I ran past the line, I got a touchdown. It was a miracle. Trust me, it was a miracle. But it felt so good to be in the direction that the ball was headed and to actually time that right. And I think vision is very, very similar to that. Where is God moving and how do we get there? That's really what vision is being able to get to that place, maybe even before it happens, to describe what is this. In Ezekiel chapter 37, God said to the prophet, I want you to speak life into these bones. He said, I want you to speak a message of prophecy. He said, I want you to be a conduit. You know, when we're surrendered to God, one of the things that's cool is we become an agent of his divine purpose. And that's exactly what clarifying and communicating vision is really all about. It's about the ability to project where we see God already moving, where we see him going, where we see his message and his direction for our lives and our ministries already leading us, and fast forwarding to get there in a way that helps us to see what God sees before it happens, and then to invite people into that divine future. That's essentially the task of clarifying and communicating vision. And when we get it right in the sense that we're not describing something that we want or we've created or we think is clever or cute, but we're describing something that could only be done by the hand of God, something that lines up with his word, something that lines up with the truth of who he's made us to be, and something that really catches us because it's real and it connects with the real needs around us. And it makes a big difference because people can start to see themselves in it. When we get that part right, when we can really describe what it is that God is leading us to do, and then we can stop and imagine it. You know, go fast forward and live in that moment for 10 minutes. Close your eyes and soak it in and look around and ask yourself some questions like, what does it feel like to be in that space, in that place? If God had worked overtime and you were to zoom forward 5 years, and you could say he accomplished infinitely more than you would have imagined in some aspect of your life or your ministry, what would it look like? Who would be there? What stories would they be telling? How would things have changed? Who would have grown? How would you have grown? You start to really imagine and envision those things, then that becomes the centerpiece of a clear and compelling vision, because now you can tell people what it's going to feel like when we get there. That's the art of communicating vision in a way that really captures the hearts of people, because we all really want the same things. We want to be people who experience everything that God has dreamed for us, that he's designed for us. And when we achieve those things, we know that great feeling of satisfaction and accomplishment and purpose that comes into our lives. So as we start to navigate forward for our teams and our churches and our ministries and our families, let's be people who see where the ball is going. We run toward that direction. We can envision it. We can close our eyes. We can live there for a minute. so that we can soak it in, so that we can come back and describe that to people and say, do you want to go somewhere amazing with me? God has great plans for your life and for your ministry. And I want you to know that I'm rooting for you and I'm cheering for you. If there's anything that I can do for you, reach out to me. I'd love to help. God bless you.